don't know when my lungs might come because it's obviously incredibly unpredictable when we get a donor. So in the meanwhile, while we wait, we have also tried to include organ donation in our focus, and it's become really important to me and my family to create awareness, just to get it to be something that South Africans are discussing and that they're aware of. And for me, it's obviously, it's very personal, it's very urgent feeling. Hi, I'm Jenna. I'm 19 and I'm planning my 21st birthday party now. And I'm inviting you.
She realized that if we can get earlier diagnosis for anybody else, we are helping them. So she was the perfect person to lead this campaign of driving awareness for this illness. What it meant was, at the same time, we were reaching out globally through the use of digital media, our website. We started something called the Jenna Lowe Trust. Jenna and Christy wrote a song, and it is available globally on iTunes. That raises money for the medication. It also raises awareness for the disease. So people land on this and they can watch her video and sign up to be a donor, and then it goes to the back end of the ODF website. So this is just the number of people who signed up on this website in those first 3 days.
Did she have any inclination that her life might end?
Yes.
Did she say something about that?
Yeah, we used to talk about it.
How did she handle that?
Yeah, it was really, really, really tough. Jen had a very, very strong notion of, she knew exactly what the prognosis was. She knew what the odds were, she knew what the statistics were, and she was bright enough that there was no fudging that. But here's the thing with transplant, is that there's hope, right? So it's not just, here's the prognosis. It's here's the prognosis, but if you get a lung transplant, there's hope. So you have that terrible dual thing that you live with all the time of, and she used to say to me, am I preparing to live or am I preparing to die?
Early 2013, Jenna was just diagnosed and already quite symptomatic and battling a bit. I was still in quite a big corporate job and went water skiing in the Breda River, broke a couple of bones. GP thought that was a bit strange and had blood tests and then discovered I had a bone marrow cancer called multiple myeloma. And at the time there was no reason for treatment, so I decided to not share that news with anybody because we were dealing with all of Jenna's needs and requirements emotionally, physically, financially, and everything else. In January of 2016, I had to start treatment, which what I decided was that was the moment when I had to start treatment, that I'd share it with everybody. So, and I had to sit Gabs down and say, you know, we've got another problem to deal with. And Christy, and then my family, and then all my friends and my work colleagues, and then the journey began. It's been really interesting to consider my own mortality and living with a potentially incurable terminal disease at the same time as I was watching my daughter with the same thing. And just being amazed by, you know, I'm surrounded by incredible women. And starting with Jenna, you know, she is just like unbelievably graceful and unbelievably grateful for what she had in her life and unbelievably composed, you know. And she had like this just incredible response to living with a terminal disease. She knew she wasn't going to be around for long. And she was able to be loved and love and live a full life. That was amazing for me to watch when I was considering my own health challenges at the same time. And it, you know, I often think when I'm having weak moments, I think it's like, how did she do that? And like, why wouldn't I do the same? And how, you know, how do I live my best life given that I also have health challenges, you know?
And then the telephone rang.
For a year, with Jen being on Flowland and us waiting for the phone to ring, I had not left her side. But on the day that that call came through, I was not in Cape Town. 9 o'clock in the morning, the 10th of December, 2014. I had gone to Plettenberg Bay with my other daughter, Christy, who, throughout all of this, had given up so much of her life. And her boyfriend was matriculating, and he was going to matric grade, and she wanted to go and join him for a week. And but there was no way I was letting her go on her own. She was too young for that. Stuart stayed here. We had a document called Operation O2. It was a 5-page document that Stuart and I had drawn up. But when that call came, what happened next? Who phoned who? Where did we find the plane? Etc., etc.
4 hours.
Because we had to be there within 4 hours. And just Murphy's Law, that the call came on the day that I wasn't here.
Did Stuart answer the telephone when the call came?
Queen answered, and it was Angela. She said, please, can I speak to Stuart? She took the phone outside to the office to Stu. He was busy on a work call, and he said, you know, tell them I'll phone back. And she said, no, I think you want to take this call. He says, we'll be there. Puts the phone down, picks up the list. Okay, first call, Gabby. Phones me, I'm fast asleep, in Plett. The phone rings, I answer it, it's Stu, and he says, we've got lungs.
She woke me up, I think it was like 9 o'clock in the morning, and she like slammed open the door and she was like, we got the call, we have to go.
Christy, we've got a lung, we've got to get to Joburg. I phoned my friend Jilly. Can they get us on a plane? Meanwhile, Stu comes through here, goes down the passage to Jen to wake her up. She's sitting up in red, looking at that door. Jonathan Ackerman had said, when that call comes, our plane will help you get to Joburg. So that's the first call he makes. None of the planes are on the runway. Jonathan finds a plane through a friend who owns a big business who says, use the plane. Jen sends one message to James, her boyfriend, saying, lungs, Joburg now. That's it. James is in his shorts and t-shirt on the way to the gym. When ping, ping, the message comes through. He does a U-turn on the highway, flies here to the house. The next call, Stu, is to our neighbors, Mary and Steve, who live across the road. They reverse their van into the driveway. Open the doors, start loading oxygen machines, second oxygen machine, portable oxygen machine for all the medication, what, all into the vehicle. 25 minutes from the call, they're busy loading Jen into the car. And pulling out the driveway when car pulls up, it's James. He gets there just in time. She gets out the car, they hug, he can't say goodbye. So Stu says, just follow us to the airport. By now, their planes are waiting on the runway. The two pilots have gotten there in their shorts and t-shirt from the beach. They fly off to the runway, they arrive there. Jen and James can't say goodbye to each other. So the pilot takes one look at this, apparently got really choked up, and he says to James, it's just a light aircraft and we're turning straight round to come back to Cape Town, get on the plane. So he gets on the plane in his shorts and t-shirt. When we get to George Airport, there's not a plane on the runway. No plane on the runway to be seen. Now I'm sitting there in the George Airport. I've been waiting for this call every day for 6 months. And now I'm stuck at the George Airport, and Stu and Jen are on the plane to Joburg. Eventually we get on a plane, so it's the last call I can make. Stu says, stay calm, don't worry. It looks like there's a delay in the organs. Stu's signing forms and stuff, and James is lying with Jen on the bed and being with Jen. Me, I'm white, like white. So is Christy. We're on the plane now from George to Joburg.
And we landed as she was kind of being prepped for surgery.
Sprint off that plane, get into the taxi, say, Mill Park Hospital, you've got to get me there. Now we're flying on and it's just peak rush hour traffic. He got us to Mill Park in 35 minutes, literally screech up outside. Stu's waiting, run down the passage, burst into Jenna's room. She's lying there on the bed with these wide eyes with James with her, and it's all very calm. Well, we didn't just burst into the room, we kind of took a deep breath before we burst into the room. I had half an hour with her before she went into surgery. That was it, half an hour.
Yeah, she was wheeled out, and I think my dad said, see you on the other side. And we were all like, no, don't say that, that's not a good line. She was like, no.
Yeah, had our last kiss and watched her go through the surgery doors.
She was wheeled away, waving and smiling, as she always was.
Her transplant went very successfully, and very early on, she did very, very well.
The lungs were a really good match and took really well.
We were hopeful at the time that she was going to do really very nicely and do well, and return to being a vibrant young woman with a great future ahead of her. But I think we were plagued with difficulties from the first month. We had problems that were related to the medication.
Jenna wasn't awake for a good 3-4 days after surgery. She was sedated and on every kind of machine you could possibly imagine. Because of all the drugs she was on and everything that was happening to her body, when she woke up, she was kind of in this state of, it's a psychosis, so she was terrified. She told us afterwards that she was having like some hectic hallucination and some really terrifying stuff. So that was really, really difficult to watch. And and you can't help her, you know what I mean? There's nothing you can do. At one stage I did go in and I sang to her. All of me loves all of you. Love your curves and all your edges, all your perfect imperfections. There's no contact, you couldn't touch her at all. Not just then, but for the full 6 months. I don't think we had any skin-on-skin contact. I couldn't even hold her hand. And you give me all of you, oh. You feel so helpless in that situation. I knew there was nothing I could do to help her. So that was my only option. That was the only thing I could contribute, was to calm her down a bit.
That was the start of a very long journey. Because she spent 187 days in hospital, between ICU and isolation ward. She suffered the whole way through with paralysis of the stomach, so eating was a problem. She got appendicitis and had to have her appendix out 3 months after the transplant. She had seizures. She had kidney failure. Everything went wrong. And then eventually she had pancreatitis. Yeah, infections. It was very tough. Jen was, right up until the very last day, so full of grace and gratitude for the transplant, even though she suffered so much, which is important to know. It's important to know.
I think it's important to realize that the operation was a success and the transplant was a success. And this just illustrates the problems with transplantation, in that the complications that occur from all the medication and from all the other things that are wrong can cause such severe problems that can result in death. And that is what happened to Jenna, unfortunately. Often doesn't go badly during the operation or immediately afterwards, but shortly thereafter problems can develop. So it's not an easy course by any means whatsoever. And the irony of it all is that when she passed away so sadly, her heart and her lungs were normal. So she died with her lungs having been replaced and normal, her heart having been ill, and that returned to normal. And it was just so sad to see how the other problems that occurred in her life eventually caused a very untimely death.
It was so brutal for so long, her fight, that for weeks after Jen died, I felt a massive sense of relief for her and for us. You know, we were absolutely exhausted in every possible way, and she had fought so hard and so gracefully that my first emotion, you know, obviously we were overcome with grief, but the relief of knowing that she wasn't fighting anymore was the most profound thing, because it surprises you just to feel that, you know. It's not an emotion that you expect to feel. But yeah, sadly that doesn't last very long, and then, yeah, as you're suggesting, the emptiness is, you know, and the missing, and just the longing for the connection to that soul is what becomes the source of pain, you know.
I never thought I would survive Jenna's death. I didn't think I would survive it. We were indescribably close. But what she taught me in the years that she was dying was death is part of life. There's no life without death, and there's no death without life. And so I suppose that what I do is I live with all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, the painful, and the beautiful. It's the light as the falls through the trees. It's the flower that's different to what it was 3 days ago. Those are the moments that remind me that I'm alive, that keep me wanting to live, that keep me engaged in the world. Those are the moments. Jen said to me, "When I die, your life will carry on." And when she said that to me, it was deeply painful to hear, because I said to her, I don't want to live without you. I don't want my life to carry on without you. Guess what? She was wiser than me.
It's hard to picture someday soon that I might fade away, but if I focus on right now, I think I'll be okay. You only live once, they tell us again. So we dance on the train tracks and wait for the end. When did the message get lost on the way? Don't risk what you have, just enjoy each new day. Present in each second, I savor every breath. All of life's sweet treasures, the beauty and the depth. It's hard to picture someday that I might fade away, but if I focus on right now, I think I'll be okay.